What up, what up, what up? Welcome to another episode of Sneeze Ron's Life. We are going to do something we normally don't do, which is because it's so early. It's not even 24 hours, but we are going to talk about that new Kung Fu Kenny, new Kendrick Lamar album, GNX. Wow. Did we expect to get a Kendrick album today? No, we didn't. And technically, I heard it yesterday. It was on Friday that it dropped. So it dropped on November 22nd. Again, Lionel, your host of Sneaks Rhymes and Life. But we got a new Kendrick album out of nowhere. So a surprise. We've had some surprise albums over time. Geez, we had. I think of not too long ago, or even over just the course of history. We got Nas's album. Stillmatic was kind of a surprise. We didn't expect it. Nas also dropped Magic after just dropping King's Disease. And he dropped that on Christmas Day. So that was like a Christmas Day surprise. So it's always fun to get an album out of nowhere when you don't expect it. But at the same time, and again, you can see I'm repping Kendrick today and got my LA colors on. We're going to break this down a little bit, but it was a surprise, but not really a surprise. Are we surprised that Kendrick had new music with all the things that have happened this year, between the Drake beef, most notably, some of the collaborations with Future and Metro Booming? No, not really. He's up for, so many different awards. He's up for 7 Grammys. So are we really surprised that Kendrick dropped an album? He's going to do the Super Bowl in 2025, the halftime show. Are we surprised? He's got all the momentum. This is like the end of the Avengers, and Thanos has got all of the stones and he's sitting on a throne. Kendrick is running the hip hop game in 2024. And so no surprise really that he dropped an album. It takes Kendrick time. He never rushes it. Everything is calculated. And in first listen, this is no different. Conceptually, is this album as good as some of the others? And, you can break down from that each of them, whether it's a movie or it's a story or it's a poem. We got from Good Kid, Mad City to Pimp to a Butterfly to Mr. Morale. They all have a concept behind them. I think, Damn was essentially like a play. So what's the concept behind this one? Don't know if I've actually broken that down. I'm sure as time passes, we'll understand the concept more and more because Kendrick is so calculated. It's the first album since Mr. Morale, the Grammy-winning album. So are we really surprised that he dropped another album number 6? No, not really. I wasn't that surprised. He actually gave us music, and it took really Drake to get him to come out of the booth, or come into the booth. But when he did, he's given us some of the most memorable songs of 2024. So I think when we think again, the things that have been in Kendrick's momentum or chamber, 7 Grammy nominations, an epic rap beef with Drake that he obviously, crowned himself victorious. And I think the most media, along with the fans out there globally, think that Kendrick won. Even people in my hometown of Toronto believe that Kendrick won. He's doing the Super Bowl performance in 2025, as I mentioned earlier. So it's perfect timing that we're getting an album from Kendrick. So let's talk about them. I think it's like 12 songs. Let me look at it again here. So when we look at the joint, how many songs we got? We got it's 12. So exactly 12 songs. And again, conceptually, I don't know if we'll figure out the concept yet, but I would definitely feel that this is a far more of the most straightforward album. He really wants people to feel it. Even says this in some of the opening credits of the first song. Whacked out murals, but I think we'll figure out things as things go along. So I think some of the highlights, Whacked Out Murals, let's start there. So this is a song where he calls on some of the biggest names in the game. He shouts out Nas for being the only one that ever congratulate him in the hip hop industry for winning, for being selected to perform at the Super Bowl. Now we know that Lil Wayne is upset because it's in New Orleans, and he wasn't the one that was picked to do the Super Bowl. And again, Jay-Z is behind this, but again, the selection was made, and ultimately, yes, Jay-Z selected or had influence in selecting Kendrick. Again, this is Kendrick's time. It's unfortunate that for many that it's in New Orleans, and Cash Money Records, along with Lil Wayne's whole clique, is not performing. But he essentially calls Lil Wayne a baby, and Lil Wayne has already responded this morning on Twitter saying, don't wake the giants. So it'll be interesting if they start beefing. I don't think it's going to get to that. I don't think, Kendrick feels the same way about Lil Wayne as he feels about Drake, but Drake and Lil Wayne are affiliated. So who knows how long this beef between the two will go on. I don't think Drake and Kendrick ever get back together or ever come to see eye to eye. So I'm not saying Kendrick is picking on it, but Kendrick is clearly making it known that if we go to war, he's ready to go to war, and that's the way it's going to be. And then he even calls out essentially the person that he took the West Coast mantle from, Snoop Dogg, for when Drake made his diss song. I think it was 616 in LA, and used Tupac and Snoop AI. And shout out to the late Tupac, but Snoop Dogg actually reposted this song, even though he had nothing to do with it. And that was just, that really struck a chord with Kendrick, as Snoop really should be defending the West and calling outrage versus actually reposting it and embracing that Drake's creativity actually created a song with his voice in it. So very interesting there. But yeah, I think Whacked Out Murals, if we start thinking about some of the take, this is a song for the next several weeks, which will get all of the attention. So very unique one. I think I would, say that, some people were talking, it's like, well, next time Kendrick drops, Taylor Swift is going to be on it. There ain't no Taylor Swift. So let's put SZA, amongst many other people, make guest appearances on this 12 cut album. So there's no T-Sizzle, no Taylor Swift. So let's just get that out of your head. I don't think there's a Not Like Us track, like one that will capture the attention, but there's a couple joints for the club. Peekaboo and Squabble Up, definitely some West Coast vibes on that one. We got DJ Mustard on the beat for sure. Hey Now and TV Off. TV Off is one of my favorite songs, and DJ Mustard does a great job with both of those. I think next point that I want to make, Man at the Garden, so has some One Mic vibes. Just how the song starts off so quiet, the tempo and the pace. I think Kendrick approaches it differently. He really talks about, essentially, again, going back to the whole Thanos thing, before Endgame, and when he's got everything in control and all of the Infinity Stones sitting on his throne, that's where Kendrick's vibe is right now. He is running the rap game right now. He wants it all. He wants everything and anything that his heart's desires right now. And essentially that's what happens when you have all the Infinity Stones. So very interesting. Gloria, I need to spend more time listening to this one, thoroughly enjoying the penmanship that he has with this one. Maybe the best written song on the entire album. And then GNX, which is the title track, is probably the song that I played the most. I love the beat for this one the most. And just a really good vibe about this one. And then I would also then talk about he did something that I didn't think would happen. So in each of his albums, he's got the heart part song. So on his five previous albums, he's got the heart part 1 to 5. In the beef with Drake, Drake actually makes a song called The Heart Part 6 to kind of take away the shine of this series that he's created. Well, Kendrick flipped it a little bit. Instead of The Heart Part 6, he did Heart Part 6, and continues the trajectory of this series. And it's really like almost feels like a letter or um a just telling the story about TDE and how that his original label and how we split. And he talks about his friends that he was in a group with called the Black Hippies. They actually never ultimately finished or created an album, and he kind of grew out of the group. But for those that don't know Black Hippie, Absol, J Rock, and Schoolboy Q, three of the best MCs that are out on the West Coast and holding it down over the last 10 years, kind of along Kendrick's lineage over the last 10, 15 years. I still think what an amazing album this would have been if they were able to create it, but they never got it out. So shout out to Kendrick to tell the story and the emotions and what he was feeling. Shout out to he gives a shout out to Dave Free, and essentially he was like the Phil Jackson of the whole clique. So it's a very unique story. And I think it just fits perfectly on the vibe of this album. Is this my favorite Kendrick album? No. Good Kid, Mad City, Pimp to a Butterfly. Damn, I like all better than that. Section 80 at this point. Maybe it's better than Mr. Morale because I didn't really vibe Mr. Morale, but conceptually I know that it is top tier. So I think you need to give some time to how this sounds. I think just hearing the songs that Kendrick was able to create, with Meet the Grams, and I think that is still an amazing song. Euphoria, which in the beef with Drake, I think is the best song that he created, and not like Us, which has been the song that is played for probably at least 2/3 of 2024, and essentially the song of the year and will win multiple Grammys. But I would tell you on first listen, second listen, third listen, I had to hunt for songs. I definitely have given it a few runs and let the whole album play to begin and end. And it does string together well, but I don't think it strings anything in comparison to Good Kid, Mad City, Section 80, Damn, even Pimp to a Butterfly. And I think Pimp to the Butterfly and Good Kid, Mad City are probably the best two albums that he's created. So when I think about Kendrick and his lineage and the albums he's created, is this a step back? People didn't love Mr. Morale. So is that two albums in a row that Kendrick has not made top tier? I think when we talk about discography, he has one of the best and most consistent discographies that we've ever seen. Right there with the Outcasts and the Tribe Called Quest of the world, that have the best discography that we've ever heard out of a hip hop artist or group. But this one, I wouldn't say it's a miss, and I think it will grow on people. It will definitely probably grow on me. I'm already saying that now. At first listen, it's not there. I think even the last Tribe Called Quest album and how that sounded to me, it was thank you for your service. I got it from here. And this is like the album that they were creating, and in the process of them creating it, Phife Dawg passed away. That is one of the best albums they ever made. That is better than, in my opinion, that was better than the Love Movement or Beats, Rhymes, and Life. And I still like both of those projects, but I think they actually were on the incline with the last project they made. I don't know if Kendrick is on an incline. And I would tell you because the bar is so high for Kendrick that unless he's creating all-time classics every single time out, it's tough to stay at that level. Lil Wayne couldn't do it. Even Nas couldn't do it. Biggie has 2 albums, and maybe you could say those are out of one catalog that is top tier. Jay-Z couldn't do it. And you can go down the list. I look at my wall here. Mobb Deep couldn't do it. Mos Def couldn't do it. Boogie Down Productions couldn't do it. Even the Fugees with 2 albums couldn't keep this elite top tier status or expectation. I think in my initial few listens and having it for less than 24 hours, it falls short a little bit. Mr. Morale falls short, and it never got the momentum. So I think it's going to be up for you to decide and judge how you feel about this project, how it jives. I definitely think there's parts that are going to be played. I definitely think that there's people are going to be excited. I think of my boys at NFC podcast that love all of this new music for the millennials in the 2010s and beyond. They'll be all over this. They're the Ye and Kendrick fans of this era. And we talk about things in different ways and talk about different projects, although we both love hip hop, and no disrespect to them. But I definitely think this is an album that will be loved and revered by some, and criticized and not because it's a bad album, but because the expectation and the bar is so high with Kendrick that people will wonder if this is really one for the history books. So it's going to be up to you to decide. It's going to be up to you to listen and to take it in and celebrate what you like. But when I hear it at first listen, again, it's got some ones that people will play. GNX, as I mentioned, Man at the Garden, Whacked Out Murals is going to be the one that gets talked about the most. Squabble Up and Peekaboo, as I mentioned, will be the ones that get played in the club over the next several months into the holidays and into 2025. But I just don't think this is a top tier Kendrick album, at least at first listen. I think when I heard Good Kid, Mad City, and when I heard Pimp to a Butterfly, I heard those later than most. I didn't hear them when they came out. I actually was not on the Kendrick train until several years after. I think I was probably right before Damn came out. That's when I started to listen to Kendrick and really take into some of the things that he was saying, because I was more of a J. Cole guy at that point than anything else. So if we're talking about some of the newer guys, and hey, now you can add Griselda, and I'm a huge Freddie Gibbs fan, but I just don't know if this album, as I now took in Damn and took in Pimp to a Butterfly and Good Kid, Mad City, and then you add Untitled and going back to Section 80 as it's become available, there is a high bar that Kendrick had. Maybe he has the best 4-album run and that's going to be a whole nother album. Got tongue tied there. That is going to be a whole nother podcast on which artists have the best 4-album run of all time. But I would tell you, with this project and with Mr. Morale, it feels like this is a half step or a step below those. And it's going to happen as you continue to make more projects. I think, people question, it's like, oh, first listen, do you hear the double entendres? Hey, people are already starting to break this down, like they broke down all of the songs in the Kendrick and Drake beef. The double entendres are there. You just got to listen. And as we have more time, you got to unpack that. But for just strictly for sound, for production, and just overall feel, the lyricism, no question, is there. Kendrick is a top tier lyricism, and it's there. But will I tell you that this album is one of the best albums we've heard this year? Maybe, maybe not. There's some other good projects out there. I would put this right up against Auditorium if we're talking about some of the contemporary hip hop that's come out. There's been several other artists that have put out masterful projects in 2024. But and again, shout out to my previous episode with that featured the Auditorium. For those that don't know, that is the collaboration album between Pete Rock and Common. So there is a lot of great material that's come out this year. This is a good project. This is as good as you will see on the lyricism front. There is some great production, but for overall feel and in comparison, which is a tough piece, comparison to where his threshold or where his apex is with some of the other projects that he's got out there, this one may fall a little bit short. Short. So think about it. Take it in. Spend some time with it this week. And I know I definitely will play some more everywhere I go this week. And really, what does this project mean? But that is my first take. Appreciate you riding the wave of ups and downs and highs and lows, which are what I think on this album so far. But that's my episode, Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life, on the GNX surprise drop of Kendrick Lamar's 6th album. This is Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. We out.